see what happens? You see what happens when you're outside for only a minute in Arizona? Oh, gotta love that Arizona sun, huh? Just brutal. Anyway, welcome back to the channel if you're returning. If this is your first time, my name is Mac, and this is my garage. Before you sits Irene. She is my 1970 Plymouth Custom Suburban station wagon, and in the last video was the successful recipient of a nearly 2.5 month long project in which we were able to source, restore, preserve, and install an original fuel tank, as well as a mechanical fuel pump and a hardline to the carburetor where there was none prior. Now that being said, with that project out of the way and checked off with another notch in our belt, and without wasting too much of you, the viewer's time, let's get right into the project we have today. Hopefully this should be a shorter video. Here's what's on our docket for today. This is the original 2-barrel Carter carburetor that came off of the wagon initially when we got it. Now if you'd watched any of my past content on the channel, more specifically the part 3 of getting the station wagon up and running to take it to the car show that was with us back in March, you would have seen that we took off this carburetor in favor of a relatively cheap aftermarket bolt-on reproduction of the same unit. And the reason being was because this had a pretty nasty vacuum leak from a stripped out screw to the actual base plate. Also for the sake that we were kind of under a time constraint given the deadline for the show. Kind of running out of time. And the aftermarket reproduction was going to take a lot less time coming in the mail than the repair kit to rebuild this thing. So this has actually just been sitting in my garage for the last 4 months. I was never ever going to throw this away or get rid of it. Rather, it was just waiting patiently until it could be rebuilt and thrown back on the car, given how much of a purist I am in wanting to maintain originality. So that's exactly what we're going to do here. I've got a couple different size flat blades, and that's really all that's holding this thing together, which is fantastic, just these flat blade screws. Now to remove some of these hard to pinch cotter pins that hold on the mechanical arms for both the choke blade pull-off and for the accelerator pump, we've got this 90-degree angle little pick that we can use. We've got a whole bunch of Q-tips here that we can saturate with some of the cleaner that we're going to be using. What's great about those is that they come in large quantities and are relatively cheap, so I use Q-tips all the time. You just want to make sure you're not leaving any cotton strands left over. And we've also got some wire brushes here, both brass and steel, to do a decent job with the different finishes of metal that are on this thing, and to try to clean up some of this gunk and dirt. Methods of cleaning are going to be working very well in tandem with our Berryman's B12 Chem tool that I have. I use the same stuff when I rebuilt the carburetor on my D200 pickup truck, and I thought it was fantastic. I don't have any qualms about it. So we got a couple cans of that in the process. Once we're all done and ready for reassembly, we have Flitz metal polish. But enough talk, now we can get ready for disassembly. If you look down the actual choke blade, one of the screws is actually broken off. disassembly is complete. I could organize it just a little bit better, but I know it looks like a lot of little tiny intricate parts, and you'd be right. But if you take photos, take your time, and just go through the process delicately of cleaning everything and putting it back together, it really is no problem at all. I can't pull this out all the way, so I'm probably just going to end up having to use a middle file to file those down to where they're smooth, and then be able to just pull it out that way. Anyway, we can finally get to cleaning all of the components. Okay, little disclaimer before moving forward. In the disassembly process, you are going to find that there are two little tiny check balls that are there. There's a larger one and a smaller one if you actually have them right next to each other in this center little hole underneath the venturi housing. And the larger of the two goes into the well for the accelerator pump, like so. All right, back to the process. So pretty early on in the footage, we ran into a little hiccup when I initially took off the choke blade. You can actually see that one of the screws that retains it is missing. The other one, unfortunately, just completely sheared right off when I tried unscrewing it. And that left this arm unable to be pulled out all the way because of the ends of the screws sticking through the bottom were not able to be pulled through, and we're just contacting this inner wall here. So I took a metal file and I filed those down right quick, And now that we're able to slide this out, we can move on. But I'm actually going to have to then source this arm from the aftermarket carburetor that's currently on the motor. Oh, and I almost forgot the last part. And we're officially done. Looking at it, I am extremely pleased with how this turned out. That Flitz metal polish and the Q-tips and the wire brushes did a phenomenal job of cleaning up the finishes on this piece. Now all we got to do is throw this back on the engine. And with the carburetor out of the garage cabinet, fully rebuilt and back on the motor, I think now is probably a good time to wrap things up for this video. Talking just briefly, I was then able to use my vacuum gauge and dwell meter respectively to adjust the idle mixture screws, the fast and curb idle set screws, and also the tension on the spring for the choke thermostat. Making small adjustments and checking for leaks along the way, I found the highest vacuum and the smoothest idle, and everything works as it should. I'm extremely pleased with all of the cleaning products and their ability to remove the dirt and gunk from the carburetor, and it is, albeit not perfect, a far cry from when we initially started. It's also a win-win in my book that I'm able to maintain originality and keep the original carburetor with Irene. Thank you so much for watching the video if you made it this far. From the other content on the channel, this is a slightly different editing style, as I wanted the main focus and emphasis to be on the reassembly and disassembly and cleaning process, rather than me talking, which is ironic because that's exactly what I'm doing right now. But nonetheless, thank you very much. Leave a comment down below telling me what you liked about the video or what you didn't like, no matter the case. And also, please consider subscribing to the channel, as it would greatly help out. With all that being said, until next time, take care and God bless.